Mock Draft Monday. We're back with another mock draft here after a crazy week 18 as we're about to head into the playoffs. And we've got most of the draft order actually now set, at least the top half, the important half, where some of the best players in the NFL draft will be going and finding their long-term teams. And it's really exciting now at this point to be going forward with the NFL mock draft season. Make sure you guys are subscribed so you don't miss out on more of these coming forward. Also, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on our other videos that we post on the channel, a lot of other NFL content and some NBA content as well, if that's something you're interested in. And then leave a like on today's video if you are excited for the NFL draft. Of course, there's so much that can happen. There's a lot that can change still throughout this process. We still have the NFL Draft Combine, NFL Pro Days. There's so much yet to have happen for the NFL Draft, but we're getting closer every single day. Austin, you're starting us off here with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They locked up the #1 pick, your favorite team, and you have them going with Kayvon Thibodeaux out of Oregon. Break down what this player brings to the Jaguars. Why is he worth the #1 overall selection?
I think you look at his tremendous upside. His measurables are off the chart. He's a great athlete, a really, really dynamic pass rusher. He's also really good against the run, something you don't often see in a great pass rusher. Sometimes they're one or the other. They're either a really good run defender or an elite pass rusher. And getting to the quarterback is definitely his strong suit. So that's what Jacksonville needs. They don't generate a ton of pressures outside of Josh Allen. They did not see a ton of that this season, but putting him opposite of Josh Allen makes him a deadly pairing for the future.
Right. I think the Week 18 matchup against the Colts was really indicative of what Josh Allen could do if the Jaguars are playing with the lead a little bit more often. You add Kayvon Thibodeaux to that, and that it becomes a nightmare for opposing offenses. You get a good blend of speed on one end. Josh Allen can win with power, can also win off the edge with some speed too. So you're looking at a really, really great pass rushing duo. And now as we move into pick #2 here, we've got the Detroit Lions. And you're having them stick with that edge position. Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan stays in state here. Why should Detroit Lions fans be excited about this selection?
Once again, this is the other guy that very well could have went #1. Aiden Hutchinson has emerged as a top tier pass rusher in this draft. And we've seen it against Ohio State, absolutely single-handedly dominated that game against a lot of NFL talent. Thayer Munford, Nicholas Pettit-Freer, two guys that are going to be NFL draft picks, and he completely dominated both of them all game long. He's very worthy of it. They're trying to improve that front seven, and getting a very, very talented pass rusher is going to go a long way in helping fix this defense.
Right, he's had some really memorable games this year and was really a big part of what the Michigan Wolverines defense ended up being. He's going to be huge for the Detroit Lions. They need some help along that front seven, and I really like this selection for them when you consider trying to build up the front end of that defense and then try and go from there. They got another first-round pick, so Lions fans, there's a lot to be excited about this offseason. Pick 3, we got the Houston Texans here, and you're actually opting for a cornerback, Derek Stingley out of LSU. I know a lot of our viewers are really concerned about some of his injury history, some of the time he's missed, Austin. Why is that not as much of a red flag for you?
Yeah, so for me, I know a lot of people were concerned about Jamar Chase not playing, and he obviously ended up being very, very good at the next level. I think Derek Stingley offers that same kind of talent. I mean, he's a tremendous man-to-man corner, super athletic, one of the most athletic guys in the entire NFL draft, good ball skills. He's missed some time, yes, but I don't think that should really hinder you from taking him because, those injuries are in the past. I don't think they're going to affect him in the future. And if you're a Texans fan, you'd be really excited about this pick. You're getting a shutdown corner at pick #3. He's a premier talent in this draft. You don't want to miss out on him. And I mean, honestly, this is a guy that can transform a defense in that secondary. And I think they have to jump on this opportunity.
You hear very high praise there from Austin, our draft guru, on Derek Stingley. Texans fans, you should not be mad about this selection. This is a really good pickup. And one thing I always like to say, just like a contract, draft picks are for what a player is going to do for you, not necessarily what they have done recently. What they've done recently, whatever Derek Stingley had done the last year, doesn't help you going forward. But what he's going to do for you in a Houston Texans uniform is what is important. And when he's healthy, he's one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, likely pretty quickly into his career. And that's really, really high praise for a cornerback like Derek Stingley. Pick 4, we got my New York Jets here. And with Stingley off the board, Austin, you're going with safety Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame. I know he's got good size, good range as a deep safety, can also play up in the box. What makes him so attractive to you as a prospect in this one?
Yeah, I think his instincts are just off the charts. Really has a good feel in that run game, picking holes, and he's an opportunistic blitzer as well. But when you look at what the New York Jets definitely need, it's in that secondary as well. Bryce Hall's been a phenomenal player for them this past season, but they got to keep improving on that back end. Marcus May's likely gone after the season, so you have to be ready for that transitional phase. Robert Saleh is trying to shape this defense in his image. He's always had really good safety play. I think Kyle Hamilton's going to be the latest example of a successful safety in his system.
I think that's a phenomenal pickup, and it's kind of crazy when you go back to what Joe Douglas inherited on this roster. You're looking at the safety tandem of Marcus May and Jamal Adams, both around 25 and under. And now at this point, it looks like neither of them will be on the roster going into next season. Kyle Hamilton, though, might be the best of those three when it's all said and done. He's a phenomenal safety. There's a lot to be excited about here. Jets, you also have pick 10. So this is going to be a really good offseason. Again, I think Joe Douglas has done a pretty good job steering the ship so far. And if we give him a couple more years, I think we could become a really competitive football team. Pick 5, we got the New York Giants, and you're opting for tackle Evan Neal out of Alabama. I think Giants fans are probably going to be jumping out of their chairs with this one, with how excited they'll be to see an offensive lineman go to their Giants. They struggled all year protecting Daniel Jones. Are you under the impression Joe Judge will be back? Are you under the impression Dave Gettleman will still be there? And then how important is it to protect Daniel Jones?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really up in the air on what the Giants are going to do. I think a tackle is well worth it at this spot. Another guy that was not valued as high, pre-draft. He makes that conversion from right to left tackle, makes him that much more attractive, and he can be a franchise left tackle for you. They already have Andrew Thomas in place, but they could build something very, very special up front for these Giants. I'm excited to see what they do with Daniel Jones. I think there's a possibility that a quarterback is brought into the fold here eventually, but we'll have to see.
Right, that'll be something to monitor throughout the draft. Even if it's not a day one guy, maybe late day 2, they could look at taking a quarterback, kind of like what the Texans did with Davis Mills. There's some potential here for the Giants to build something nice though along that offensive front. Like you're saying, they also have pick 7 now after the draft order has been set. Pick 6, we got the Carolina Panthers picking right in between those Giants, and they steal a tackle here. Ikem Ekwonu out of NC State. I know you're really high on this kid. Really good in the run game from what I've heard from you, Austin. Why is Ikem Ekwonu worth the 6th overall pick for Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, you would mention it, and that's the big thing for me is him in the run game is elite. Arguably the best run blocker in the entire class. But if you look at the Carolina Panthers, where they struggled, it's been up front. Whatever quarterback it's been, whether it's Cam, whether it's Sam Darnold, whether it's PJ Walker, they've really failed their quarterback up front, unfortunately. But bringing in a tackle like him, you get a cornerstone along that offensive line as you're continuing to try to build something special there in Carolina. I think he's a huge building block in doing so.
Right. I think the Panthers are also one of those trade down destinations potentially. If a team does want to move up for a quarterback, I think Carolina would be answering calls to move down because they do not have their 2nd or 3rd round pick this year. I think they would be interested. Of course, we're not doing trade downs yet at this point of the season. We're going to wait for the end of the playoffs to start doing trade down situations. But I think Ikem Ekwonu here, if the Panthers did stick at 6, this would be a phenomenal pickup for their team. 7 here now. We're moving on to the New York Giants, and you're actually going with edge George Karlaftis out of Purdue. I know you're a big believer in trying to build up those trenches. So with pick 5, you went offensive line. Pick 7, you go defensive line here. What does Karlaftis bring next to Leonard Williams?
Really good against the run. That's something that I'd like to highlight. A ton of tackles for loss. They're evident in his freshman year and then his final year at Purdue. Both are the cases, but he really has been a consistent guy that can also get after the quarterback. So, two-sided sword there. I mean, he is just so talented that it'd be tough to pass up on him. Reason being, the New York Giants definitely need to be better in both trenches, especially in that division. It's crucial, and it's crucial based off of line play. Dallas is tough. Obviously the Philadelphia Eagles are tough. And then Washington, another team that's really, really good up front, especially defensively. So you want to keep pace in the division. You also get a really talented player here in George Karlaftis at that edge spot. The New York Giants, they have an opportunity with these top 2 picks to really right the wrong in what they've done in the past. And this is a great start for them.
It definitely is. You get 2 really, really good prospects here in the top 10. It's a rare situation to have 2 top 10 picks, and I think you nailed it here with both picks 5 and 7 for the Giants. Karlaftis, a really good pickup for that defensive line. Pick 8, we're staying on the defensive line with the Atlanta Falcons, and this is a pick I really love. David Ojabo out of Michigan. This kid's got really good speed off the edge. He was the duo partner with Aiden Hutchinson there in Michigan. Aiden Hutchinson got a lot of the credit, got a lot of the love, and it was well deserved. But I think David Ajabo kind of was under the shadow a little bit. Had a really good season himself, over 10 sacks. What's your thoughts on Ajabo?
Yeah, he's one of the best edges in the entire nation this past season. Got completely overshadowed by Aiden Hutchinson, unfortunately. But I mean, had he been on his own team, I think he'd get a little more credit than he has, just because a lot of attention was directed at Aiden Hutchinson. People felt David Ajabo had it a little easier. I just think that's a completely wrong narrative to look at. David Ajabo, great pass rusher in his own right. He has a great instinct in terms of, how to knock out the football. Forces a lot of fumbles. I think he was second in the nation in that. So there's so much to love about him and what he brings to the table. The Atlanta Falcons have been craving pass rushers. They definitely need one. And it's been a couple of years since they've had a premier guy. And that's really what David Ajabo can bring.
Right. Within the last decade, you can look back at some of the Atlanta Falcons draft history. You see guys like Vic Beasley, Tack McKinley just did not work out at that edge position for them. David Ajabo, this is a different story, Falcons fans. This is one you've got to be really excited about. Like I said, you got to love his speed off the edge. He's going to get to the quarterback. And like Austin had mentioned, he's probably going to get the ball as well. Great pickup here for Atlanta at pick 8. Moving into pick 9, we got the Denver Broncos here, and you're going with a quarterback. Matt Corral out of Ole Miss is QB1 off the board here in this mock draft. I know there's a lot of people saying that they don't believe Matt Corral is the QB1. Why are you opting for him yet at this point, before pro days and before the combine?
Yeah, and it's not so much necessarily what I believe as the QB1, but I just think that Denver is in a position where they're going to take a quarterback. You're going to have a new regime, a little bit of a change. George Paton's still going to be there. Vic Fangio, obviously he's out. So you look at this Denver Broncos team, and they're going to be looking quarterback probably. It's tough to imagine that they stay with Drew Lock long term. I think they're going to have another quarterback ready to go, Matt Corral. They have a good chance at number 9 to take one and really have their true choice on who they want.
Right. It's pretty interesting because the Broncos were in the thick of the playoff race up until the last couple of weeks, and you still are at pick 9 here. Kind of shows some of the parity in the NFL this season, because some teams that were really competitive are still picking in the top 10, which is where we see the New York Jets here now. This pick comes from the Seattle Seahawks. They had a really down season, but still finished with 7 wins, but still a top 10 pick. And you have the Jets taking advantage of that trade with Jamal Adams going into the secondary one more time here. We talked about Bryce Hall a little bit earlier. We talked about how Kyle Hamilton could help him, but then you add in Ahmad Gardner, and this secondary becomes almost elite on day one of these guys' rookie seasons. What's your thoughts on Gardner? Why did you mock him here to New York?
I think some Jets fans will be questioning 2 guys in the secondary in this draft, but just based off of how talented the 2 that you took are, I mean, Kyle Hamilton to me is a no-brainer. Ahmad Gardner arguably is the most talented corner in the entire class, outside of Derek Stingley. So you look at Ahmad Gardner, he just doesn't give up touchdowns, protects the end zone very, very well. Really squeezes receivers along the sideline, doesn't give them a lot of room to operate, especially on fades. So Ahmad Gardner, great pickup here. The New York Jets, this is a whole new change. I mean, their secondary struggled the last couple of seasons, but insert Kyle Hamilton and Ahmad Gardner, and like you said, this could be an elite secondary, within a short year. Honestly, if they're able to gel, I love what they've been able to do, especially with these top 10 picks. 2 top 10 picks.
Of course, everything you described there with Ahmad Gardner would make him an elite boundary corner. I think that's really where the upside is with him. You have Bryce Hall on one side, you put Ahmad Gardner on the other, with Kyle Hamilton as your deep, rangy safety who can also play up in the box. Oh my goodness, you're also getting Carl Lawson back from injury. This Jets defense is about to take a massive surge forward. I think there's still a couple things they could look to address on days 2 and 3, but they've got plenty of picks. I believe they have 4 picks in the top 50 this year. So there's a lot that the Jets can do to get everything going in the right direction. The Jets very well set up for the future. 11, we got the Washington football team, possibly the Washington Admirals, possibly the Washington Commanders. We'll have a video coming out on that soon. Quarterback Kenny Pickett here is the selection out of Pittsburgh. What does Kenny Pickett offer, and is there traction that he could potentially be the first quarterback off the board?
Yeah, I think there's definitely that case that he could be. Reason being, he's had a lot of draft traction, and he hit it right at the exact time you need to. He's a quarterback that's got good size. His hand size should be measured out pretty well. And he's pretty mobile for his size as well. So there's a lot to like about him as a prospect. He was an accurate guy at Pitt. A quarterback that was thought to go possibly in that third, fourth rounds propelled himself into that top 15 discussion. Washington has an opportunity once again to take a quarterback. I don't think they'll be this high next year. I think they're going to keep improving. That draft pick's going to go, a little further down the list. So they have that chance. Maybe if they want to move up and get their choice at maybe a Matt Corral. But I think Kenny Pickett is a really, really good quarterback. Arguably could be a QB1 in some people's eyes, but Washington in this situation does very, very well getting that quarterback, and you don't necessarily have to start him right away.
Right. I think this is a really good situation. You do have Heineke under contract if you want to roll with him, but Kenny Pickett could arguably be ready to take that job on day one. They're going to have a competition if they do go with him on draft night. I think this is a really good pickup for Washington at 11. Pick 12, we got the Minnesota Vikings, and they have cleaned house. GM Rick Spielman is out, and head coach Mike Zimmer is also out now officially for the Minnesota Vikings. You're looking at cornerback here, Andrew Booth Jr. for Clemson. For the new GM that comes in, new head coach, is cornerback going to stay that priority?
Yeah, I mean, that very well could change, but looking at the current construction of the roster, I don't think they're going to shy away from that cornerback spot. It's just such a huge need on this roster. Patrick Peterson's on an expiring. The Jeff Gladney thing was a disaster with him. He ended up getting released because of legal issues. So there's a lot that has to get fixed. Cam Dantzler's not a long-term option at corner. They have to draft a corner this year if they don't sign one in free agency.
Right. I think Vikings fans who know the most about giving up points in the last 2 minutes of halves, they were the worst at that this year. And cornerback plays a big reason why. When teams can just move the ball through the air with ease against you, you're going to be a bad team, especially defensively. The Minnesota Vikings had really great production from Kirk Cousins this year. Dalvin Cook had a great year, Justin Jefferson as well. And they did that all without Adam Thielen really being healthy the last half of the season. Just imagine if they had better cornerback play. This team could have easily been a team that we've been talking about for maybe even the Super Bowl. But they didn't have the cornerback production. They didn't have the cornerback play. Andrew Booth Jr. hopefully going to fix that for them moving forward. Cleveland Browns at 13, Austin. You went with wide receiver Garrett Wilson. I'm really glad to see you mocking a wide receiver. We talked about this off camera a little bit, how badly they need to find a true number one guy for Baker Mayfield. Are you rolling forward with Baker Mayfield for the Browns in this? And what does Garrett Wilson really provide?
I think Baker Mayfield is going to be their quarterback next season. They do need to get a number one wide receiver. I think Garrett Wilson can provide that. Jarvis Landry is a really nice complementary receiver. Donovan Peoples-Jones can be that as well. But they need that number one guy. That's what Garrett Wilson can bring. Phenomenal route runner, a true leader of that Ohio State wide receiver room, a huge contributor, and overall a safety blanket for CJ Stroud. And he proved that this season. And if you watch a lot of those games, man, he really sticks out amongst that group. Just so consistent week in, week out. And he explodes for huge games. I think that's what he can do for Cleveland. They have to have a little more dynamism at that wide receiver spot, and that's what he brings.
Right, Garrett Wilson, a really good pickup here. Watching Buckeyes games this year, every key moment, it felt like CJ Stroud was looking his way. Garrett Wilson made a ton of big plays, and that's what Baker Mayfield needs there in Ohio. He needs his own version of that, and I think Garrett Wilson transitions very well to the NFL game. Pick 14, we got the Baltimore Ravens here now on the clock. Interior defensive lineman DeMarvin Leal out of Texas A&M. You have him going to the Ravens, and this is terrifying to me because Calais Campbell's a free agent, and now you add in another big, strong body in that defensive front. I know that there's some question marks about his character because of some weed possession. It was only a misdemeanor in Texas. I don't think a misdemeanor should make a guy who is arguably a top 10 talent fall all the way down to 30. And it's clear that you think the NFL scouts will be under that same impression, Austin, with him going 14th. What does DeMarvin Leal offer?
Yeah, you look at him, the football player, super talented, super versatile. Was thought to be a potential top 5 pick because of that versatility. Didn't quite have the production we thought he would have at A&M, had a really good start. But if you look at the Baltimore Ravens in the multitude of ways they can use him, I mean, they're going to use him like A&M did. They're going to put him inside and outside, get after that quarterback. And once again, he's good against the run as well. He's got the huge size, really lean, or really, really great frame. He's not too big in terms of weight-wise, but he can play both interior and at the edge spots. So a lot you can love about those multiple fronts for him. He fits a lot of different packages. So the Baltimore Ravens with this versatility is absolutely terrifying.
Right. The Ravens picking up at 14, usually don't see them picking this high. And I think they're going to take massive advantage of it. They're going to find a great player for them, and DeMarvin Leal would fit that bill. Pick 15, we got the Philadelphia Eagles here, and you have them going with something GM Howie Roseman generally doesn't go with. Linebacker Nakobe Dean here, and I think the Eagles should be extremely happy with how their season went. They got picks from the Miami Dolphins, who missed the playoffs, a pick from the Indianapolis Colts, who missed the playoffs, and they themselves slipped in as the 7th seed in the NFC. And now they get to reap the benefits of it here in the top 15. Nakobe Dean, Georgia, what does he bring?
And Nakobe Dean is such a freak athlete. I mean, sideline to sideline, one of the fastest linebackers in the entire nation, has a really good feel in the run game. And he's improving in the pass game as well, but he's athletic enough to really, once he's able to read the quarterback a little better, definitely is going to be a really good cover linebacker. And I think that's what Philadelphia would be projecting. He is just so tough. He's a tough guy to really get around. Secure tackler. I love his game. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles are in a really good position with these 3 first-round selections, and they can take some chances on some boom or bust guys.
Right, they definitely can. And Nakobe Dean, put him into the middle of that defense. We know historically the Eagles have had a really good defensive line. They've got some work to do there. So that's why we're going to go in pick 16 here with the Philadelphia Eagles. And you actually find one of the best interior offensive linemen in the class, if not the best. That's Tyler Linderbaum out of Iowa, a center. There's, of course, been some rumors that Jason Kelce could be considering retirement. If he doesn't, worst case, Linderbaum probably kicks over to left guard. What does he bring for the Eagles?
Yeah, you nailed it there with that analysis, because even if he doesn't play center right away, you can plug him into a guard spot. He'd be phenomenal at a guard spot. But I think he's the smartest offensive lineman in the entire class. There's so much to love about what they can do and the versatility he has along that line, and that's key for Philadelphia. But getting a guy of his talent, a top 10 talent, very likely, is absolutely huge. And then you have a franchise center for 15 years. I mean, that's the kind of guy he's going to be in the NFL, and he's a long-term mainstay guy. That's what the Philadelphia Eagles would be getting. And honestly, I think they've done a great job with these, first 2 picks, building up the offense and the defense, and they can do a lot of different things.
We have seen some NFL teams really struggle to find consistent center play. And think about Eagles fans, they're going to go from Jason Kelce to arguably 15 more years of Tyler Linderbaum. They are very well set up for the future, very spoiled in that regard, because the center play is super important for overall offensive line production, calling out blitz protections, and really making sure that the quarterback is protected. Center, very undervalued position, and Tyler Linderbaum, a really good pickup for the Philadelphia Eagles. Pick 17, we got the Chargers here, and you're going with interior defensive lineman Jordan Davis out of Georgia. They could have used him in their wild card matchup, or in their week 18 matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders, when the Raiders punched it down their throat to end that game. How badly do the Chargers need help up front?
I mean, they tried to fix that with Jerry Tillery. That is not the case. It did not work out. Jordan Davis is going to be absolutely huge for the Chargers. They definitely could have used him in that week 18. However, that's just how the cookie crumbles. They have pick 17, allows them an opportunity to take a guy like Jordan Davis. Some people thought he should even be in the Heisman conversation with how important he is to that Georgia defense. A huge run stuffer, a guy that can really plug up a lot of holes, eat double teams, and really allow linebackers to go in and make some plays. So Jordan Davis is a tough one to handle in that run game. My questions lie with him as a 3-down lineman. I don't know how conducive that's going to be. However, there's going to be some times where he does get after the quarterback, even at that size. It's really impressive to watch him move, especially with just how massive he is.
Right, they're going to have to probably find someone to give them a little bit of rotational help for Jordan Davis. Like you said, some stamina concerns there for him. But if anyone's questioning this pick, look at the graphic. Look at how big this man is. He is huge, and he will really help the Chargers defensive line. He's going to help a lot in the run game. He's going to eat up blocks, and he's going to make some plays in the pass game as well. Like you mentioned, Austin, great pickup here for Tom Telesco and the Chargers. Pick 18, New Orleans Saints now on the clock, and you're going with wide receiver Jameson Williams out of Alabama. I absolutely love this selection. I believe we've seen this one in the past as well. This one makes all the sense in the world to me. Why is Jameson Williams the perfect fit for New Orleans?
He adds an element that they already don't have on this team. Once Jameis Winston comes back, a guy that can really take the top off the defense. Michael Thomas is great, short to intermediate. However, deep ball wise, he's just not a guy that's consistently targeted at that part of the field. Jameson Williams is, and he's really great in the catch and run as well. So you have a lot of options in terms of screens and just drag routes that he can take to the house, but he also can take the top out the defense Him on a fly route, I mean, that's a tough cover any day of the week. And if you look at the New Orleans Saints, that's kind of what they're missing, that big play guy. And that's what Jameson Williams can be.
Right. He offers elite speed, and he's going to help this New Orleans Saints offense take the top off and generate more big plays. One key stat for the Saints this year, I believe, is in 7 games that they did not turn the football over, they were 7-0. So if Jameis Winston can come back next year, they're able to get him under contract again. If he can limit turnovers, hit Jameson Williams deep, and also work the ball to Michael Thomas, this Saints team could be right back into the thick of things in the playoff race in the NFC. 19, we got the Philadelphia Eagles again here, Austin. You've completed the trifecta here. I think Eagles fans probably fist pumping to this right now. See Kaiir Elam out of Florida. We've seen him as high as maybe even 7 in some of our mock drafts. Why does he slide down to 19 here to Philly?
Yeah, I actually went back and watched Kaiir Elam a little bit more. I don't know if he's as good of a cover guy as I had initially diagnosed. But however, there's something that I picked up on. He is a really, really good tackler. Maybe the best tackling corner in the entire first round of that grouping. Just a tremendous competitor, very, very tough to break off the press from. I love Kaiir Elam. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are in a good position where they can take that guy in the secondary. You already added in Kobe Dean, Tyler Linderbaum. Really great, really good trifecta of talent. And honestly, I think they're set up so well for the rest of the draft, depending on what they want to do.
Having 3 first-round picks is huge, and I think Howie Roseman just deserves a lot of credit. To go out and trade your starting quarterback and then have a more productive season with your backup in Jalen Hurts, who has really, I think, cemented himself as the starter now for the Eagles for at least the next couple of years. There's a lot of hope there in Philadelphia. They've got 3 first-round picks. They're going to build something up, and Howie Roseman, I believe, is the right guy to steer the ship. He's been doing a great job, and he's going to keep it up. Pick 20, Pittsburgh Steelers here. This one's going to generate a little bit of controversy. Malik Willis out of Liberty. I know some Steelers fans think, oh, we got to go offensive line. Why would we take a quarterback? We got to find an offensive lineman. I agree, but one offensive lineman doesn't necessarily solve the issue. You have other picks in the draft. What does Malik Willis offer that an offensive lineman can't?
I mean, he has top 10 potential in terms of, where he's at. I just think he's so dynamic. I mentioned a lot in our videos with his ability to run the ball. He's progressing as a passer. The numbers may not indicate that he's going to be, a great guy in the NFL in terms of throwing the ball. But with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't think you can go into next year with what you currently have on the roster. You have Josh Dobbs, Dwayne Haskins. I'm not super excited about that quarterback room, and you have to address it. I would rather opt to take the first-round quarterback and then maybe a second-round offensive lineman than that flipped. You really get your choice at a tremendous quarterback prospect in Malik Willis, who is definitely going to be a big play guy for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And with the infrastructure that they have around him in terms of the skill positions, he is set up for tremendous success, and hopefully they can address the line later.
Everyone acknowledges quarterback is the most important position. And when you're trying to mock what you think is going to happen, it would be hard to see the Steelers going into next year without addressing that position in round 1, especially when you have a guy like Malik Willis, who is second in college football in missed tackles forced. That is generational type talent in terms of running ability for a quarterback. You don't see that ever for college football players, that a quarterback is that elusive, that good at forcing missed tackles. And I think that elusiveness will really help him in his first year in Pittsburgh, working with Najee Harris. Pick 21, we got the Cincinnati Bengals here, and you find them a really good cornerback, Austin, and Trent McDuffie. I think this is one of the only question marks about this team is how consistent is their cornerback play going to be? Mike Hilton's had a great year, but then there's some question marks about the other guys there, especially Eli Apple, for example. Does Trent McDuffie offer an immediate upgrade?
Yeah, absolutely. And Eli Apple's the guy I'm a little concerned about moving forward. I mean, you have to look at Trent McDuffie as the ultimate competitor. It's going to fit in very nicely with the Cincinnati Bengals and what they're looking for. A guy that's uber competitive, does a great job at pressing guys off the line as well. And Trent McDuffie added to this secondary, huge upgrade over an Eli Apple. There's some other positions you can look at, especially at that offensive line spot. But based off of where they're at, I think they can afford to take one in the second round. Trent McDuffie's just too talented to pass up on here at 21.
The Bengals are in a really great spot. You look at how quick that rebuild's gone for them, moving from Andy Dalton to Joe Burrow. In Joe Burrow's second year, they're in the playoffs with Jamar Chase. They've got a lot of weapons. They got a lot of talent. They could make some noise even in this postseason, but adding a guy like Trent McDuffie going into next year could be a really good pickup for this Bengals team. Pick 22, Treylon Burks goes to the New England Patriots. And as a New York Jets fan, Austin, I was hoping this would not be the case. I'm terrified of something like this happening where they get a really good number one wide receiver who can make plays after the catch and can be a real focal point guy for an offense. And that's what Treylon Burks is to me. What else does he bring for the Patriots?
Yeah, like you had mentioned already, really good after the catch, phenomenal in contested catch situations. He's 6'3", wide catch radius. And he's a super talented guy that New England can plug and play. And they've been missing that true red zone guy, especially at the wide receiver spot. That's what he can bring, a guy that has the knack for the end zone. And I think if you are the New England Patriots, you want to be looking round one wide out. I get the N'Keal Harry thing didn't work out. However, that shouldn't discourage you from taking a super talented guy like Treylon Burks.
Right, you're looking at a lot of talent and a really good combination of speed and size as well. That's going to be a tough cover for anyone in that division. The Dolphins, even with Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, assuming Howard's back next season for Miami. You're also looking at the Jets. Even if they do pick up Ahmad Gardner, it's still going to be a tough cover for him. Treylon Burks, a really good selection here, 22nd overall. Pick 23, now we move into our next pick. The Miami Dolphins here are actually on the board. This pick comes from the San Francisco 49ers. And you're going with tackle Charles Cross. I think it's been clear. They've tried to find a right tackle, someone to protect Tua Tagovailoa's blind side. Why is Charles Cross the right pick for this?
Really good pass protector, and that fits in perfectly with what Miami needs. Charles Cross can play left or right tackle, really good in both spots. And if you look at this Miami Dolphins team, to me, the biggest need is that tackle position. You have to look at it. Charles Cross can fit in nicely. If the Miami Dolphins are going through possibly a regime change, Brian Flores is out. I think the Miami Dolphins are in a really good position here at 23. Charles Cross actually just fell into their lap in this mock draft, so they'd be really stoked to get him here.
Right, we've seen Charles Cross go much higher in some of our other mocks, and with potential of the way the board falls, it's kind of like what Christian Darrisaw had happen to him last year, where he fell all the way down into the 20s, where Minnesota was able to grab him. Now Miami gets lucky here, and Charles Cross falls to them in the 20s. Really good selection for them, and really solidifies some of that offensive line. Pick 24, the Las Vegas Raiders here. And I think one of the clear things about their offense, and historically what Mike Mayock's been trying to do as the GM there in Vegas, is find a wide receiver one. He had made moves for Tyrell Williams and Antonio Brown, drafted Henry Ruggs, and has looked a lot of other ways. I think Hunter Renfrow can be a really good utility gadget wide receiver, but I don't think they have that true outside number one guy until now. Drake London out of USC Austin. What does he provide? And I know you really love this kid.
A guy that we've seen has the measurables in terms of his size, being 6'5". He has production and he has upside. So he has the big key components you're looking for when drafting a wideout, especially for the Raiders, taking from a big program. This is exactly what they need. They need a real red zone threat, and that's what he can bring. I think Edwards is a fine red zone threat, but I just think Drake London is going to see a little more production. There should be a little more trust with him, especially with that catch radius. And that's what the Raiders absolutely need heading into this offseason. And they're in a good spot here at 24. Once again, London falls right into their lap. To me, it's a no-brainer.
I think so as well. And when you watch the Raiders, the need for that number one guy who can run curl routes, can run comeback routes, and can just really be that security blanket for a quarterback. If Derek Carr doesn't get a wide receiver in free agency, it's got to be through the draft. And Drake London, wow, what a pickup for the Raiders. 25th overall, we got the Buffalo Bills going with cornerback Roger McCreary here out of Auburn. I know this is going to be one of the fan favorite picks because Roger McCreary is someone who's been climbing the boards all season long, and the Bills really do need a cornerback too, especially with Tre'Davious White coming off an ACL injury now. Not sure exactly what he's going to be right away when he first comes back. So Roger McCreary, there's going to be a lot asked of him. How big are you on this kid?
Yeah, he's going to be thrusted into the starting role right away. Levi Wallace has done a nice job this year in relief, but you put McCreary, Wallace, and then eventually Tre'Davious White reinserted. This Buffalo Bills defense is really tough the way it is, and you add another corner into that room that can be a consistent cover guy. I think it's super dangerous, especially for a playoff team. With the caliber of roster the Bills have, they just need to keep improving in that secondary. It's almost complete, but if you add Roger McCreary in there, watch out. This is a scary secondary.
Yeah, the Bills, they do really well about drafting, developing, and then building up that defense. Gregory Rousseau, I think we're going to see a much better year two from him, even than we've seen in year one. This team is going to be dangerous moving forward. I like what the Bills have defensively. Sean McDermott's a great head coach. Really does draw a lot out of his defense specifically. So I think Roger McCreary here going into Buffalo makes a lot of sense. 26, Martin Emerson out of Mississippi State goes to the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals badly need a cornerback, and I think that's what we're going to see in round one of the playoffs here in the wild card. They go up against the Los Angeles Rams. Maybe I'm putting the wagon in front, the cart in front of the horse a little bit here, but I think that they need a little bit more cornerback help to deal with their division. When you have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, you've got Robert Woods, Odell Beckham Jr., Cooper Kupp, and then also others in that division as well. You need cornerback play, and Martin Emerson, how much is he going to help them?
Yeah, he's definitely going to help. He's a man-to-man guy. I think replacing, Robert Alford is a huge deal. And, Martin Emerson fits in nicely. I believe that this team is a corner away from really being super competitive next year. They were trying to address it, and, they ended up going linebacker last year when a lot of us were thinking they had to go corner. They have an opportunity with Emerson still being a really talented player at 26. They go ahead and get their guy.
Right. I think a key thing to watch for them as well is, will Chandler Jones be back next season? He is an unrestricted free agent. They could slap the franchise tag on him. I wouldn't be surprised if they do, but they'll have to figure out that situation with Chandler Jones if they want to stay uber competitive. But assuming he's back, Martin Emerson, a phenomenal pickup for them. 27, the Tennessee Titans. You have them going with a playmaker here, Chris Olave, someone who knows how to work the seam very well, can be a nice deep threat. How important is that for Tennessee?
Yeah, Tennessee offensively, they don't want to be super one-dimensional. When you only have A.J. Brown at receiver, Julio Jones just hasn't worked out this year, unfortunately, and he's getting older. So it makes it really tough. You got to be ready for that transitional phase here. Adding a guy like Chris Olave is absolutely huge to take off some pressure from A.J. Brown. Definitely sees a lot of double teams in that secondary. So Chris Olave coming in, you can't do that to A.J. Brown. You already have Derrick Henry in the backfield. This could be a really scary offense if they end up taking Olave, who falls in this mock draft just because fit-wise, he didn't make sense as much with some of the other teams and their team needs. But Chris Olave, tremendous talent, goes to Tennessee, and he could be a big-time playmaker.
It'll definitely add some value, taking the top off the defense and really stretching out defenses against them. Of course, when you're going up against Derrick Henry, he's going to be the guy you circle on the scouting report. A.J. Brown also gets circled a little bit with the way that they want to cover him. You add Chris Olave into the fold, and it's much harder to contain the other two guys as well, because Chris Olave just adds a little bit of an element that they're missing currently from their offense. 28, we got the Detroit Lions here, Austin linebacker Devin Lloyd out of Utah. I think he slid a little bit here, and this is a phenomenal pickup for the Detroit Lions. Really, really good value here. One of the best linebackers in the nation. Arguably could go number one for linebackers. Him and Nakobe Dean are 1-2 together. What do you like about Devin Lloyd?
Devin Lloyd is a tremendous playmaker. He's all over the field. When you watch this Utah team, he's in on virtually every single play, whether it's in the run or the pass game. Just a tremendous talent, has a great feel for the game. He's a big guy too. So looking at Devin Lloyd, and the Detroit Lions need some front seven help. I think that's pretty clear and obvious, and they're able to address that twice in the first round here. It's so nice having that extra first round pick for them. They can get creative with it, and then they have another first round or a second round pick coming up. But Devin Lloyd, talent wise, is potentially a top 15 guy with how talented he is. This is an absolute steal for the Lions.
It most definitely is. Their front seven got so much better in this mock draft, looking at Aiden Hutchinson and also Devin Lloyd coming in. From there, they probably have to look to try and find a little bit more help in the secondary, and then also start to address some things on offense. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown has been a really good surprise for them. I know a lot of people liked him coming out, but I don't think they saw over 800 yards as a rookie for him necessarily, and being arguably the number one wide receiver threat for them. So now I think that the Lions have a little bit of traction going forward. They played some good football down the stretch of the season, and I think Dan Campbell's Lions come back next year hungry and competitive. 29, we got the Dallas Cowboys here, and Jaquan Brisker goes. I've been waiting for him to go in this mock draft. Really talented safety. I know you like him quite a bit. Why did the Cowboys go safety here, and then why does Brisker fit the bill?
Just with how it's fallen so far in terms of where they're at in the draft, I definitely consider corner, but Kelvin Joseph has done a nice job there in Dallas. He's really come on as of late. I think they need a safety heading into the offseason, maybe even a little more than that corner spot. Jaquan Brisker, big time hitter, great feel, definitely a very sound tackler as well. So if you look at what Penn State's been able to produce on the defensive side of the ball, it's been crazy. They were comfortable drafting Micah Parsons from there. Now you add Jaquan Brisker into the fold.
Yeah, they go Penn State back to back, and it's going to pay off for them. Jaquan Brisker, a really good prospect and a really good safety talent as well. They badly need a little bit more help over the top, and I think he's going to provide that. Pick 30 now, we're going with another safety here. Kansas City finds their Tyrann Mathieu replacement in Jordan Battle out of Alabama. Of course, the day that this is coming out, Monday, is the day of the national championship game. Jordan Battle for Alabama. He'll be suiting up. What does he bring?
Yeah, for Kansas City, they have to look at that safety spot. You want to replace Sorensen, and you already have to replace Matthew, so they might have to double down and double dip in the draft at the safety position. Maybe they sign one in free agency, but Jordan Battle, really great tackler, reminds me of Tyrann Mathieu in terms of his physical play style. And the Kansas City Chiefs definitely have to look at the safety spot right away because it thins out a little bit in the later rounds. So getting a first round safety is crucial for them just based off of where they're at in that first round. They really don't have a choice to me.
Pick 31 now, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this is terrifying here. They're going with wide receiver Jahan Dotson out of Penn State, Austin. They find a wide receiver. Does this indicate that maybe Chris Godwin is going to go elsewhere in free agency? What's your thoughts on that? And then why is Jahan Dotson the right player for Tampa?
There's going to be a team that overpays Chris Godwin significantly of the teams that have a lot of salary cap space. So they have to address it in the draft. Jalen Darden was a guy they had picked last year. Hasn't really found a role just yet with the team. Maybe in the postseason he will. But Jahan Dotson, another Penn State guy. I mean, they were comfortable with Chris Godwin. Now they go ahead, double dip at Penn State again here and go with Jahan Dotson, super talented receiver, great along the boundaries, and can be a red zone threat for them as well. But Jahan Dotson and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to me, seems like a really great pairing.
The Nittany Lions know how to produce NFL talent. They continue to do so, and Tampa Bay gets a really good player here in Jahan Dotson. And before our final pick here of the mock draft, make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and turn on the notification bell as well so you don't miss out on more content here at Utility Sports. Now with pick 32, Austin, Green Bay Packers, Kenyon Green. This is an A-plus value pick to me. I know a lot of people won't be high on him because he's a guard, but very arguably one of the top offensive linemen in the entire class. Why is he so valuable here for Green Bay?
Yeah, Green Bay, this all comes down to value. This is not ideally exactly what you would maybe want to do if you're the Packers. You'd probably prefer a tackle here, but Kenyon Green's ability to get out in space and really get downhill, get to that second level at the linebackers. I mean, he's a tremendous athlete. I think the Green Bay Packers could be super, super dangerous if they plug him up front. Just a guy you can truly run behind. Also a pretty good pass protector in his own right. So I think the Green Bay Packers value-wise would be sitting here drooling the fact that Kenyon Green is still out here at 32.
This is phenomenal value for them, like you're saying, Austin. I think the Packers, we know how important it is for them to build up an offensive line. They do so here. Kenyon Green, phenomenal pickup for those Green Bay Packers. Again, thank you everyone so much for watching. We do really appreciate all the love and support that you guys show us on the channel. Let us know your thoughts on the mock draft in the comment section. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe as well if you're new. Check out our other videos. And until then, we'll catch you in our very next Utility Sports video.